The music was still playing when Aisha Carter reached the table with her name on it and found someone else sitting there. Victoria Whitmore didn't even lower her voice. "People like you don't get seats up front," she said, loud enough for others to hear. Bradford Whitmore laughed, leaning back as if the decision was already made. No explanation, no discussion, just humiliation in plain sight. Aisha stood there, calm, silent, while eyes watched and no one stepped in. They thought this was just another woman they could push aside, and they had no idea what mistake they'd just made. Comment and tell us where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories reach. And subscribe for more powerful stories that demand to be heard. Aisha Carter arrived at the gala, the same way she arrived everywhere else, on time, prepared, and focused. No entourage, no hesitation. She checked in, adjusted her jacket, and moved forward as if she belonged there, because she did. To anyone watching closely, her confidence wasn't loud. It was controlled. The venue was already buzzing. Glasses clinked. Music floated through the air. People greeted each other by last names, not first. Power moved casually here. Near the center of it all, Victoria Whitmore laughed with ease, already seated where she pleased. Bradford Whitmore stood beside her, scanning the room like someone who expected to be recognized, not questioned. As Aisha crossed the floor, conversations dipped. A few heads turned. No one stopped her, but no one welcomed her either. She paused briefly at the front table, checking the placard. Her name was there, clear, correct. She stepped closer. "That seat's taken," Victoria said without looking up. Aisha stayed calm. "It's reserved for me." Bradford glanced over, amused. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" The tone wasn't curious. It was corrective. Nearby, the security guard noticed the raised voices and shifted his weight, taking a step closer. Not toward the Whitmores, toward Aisha. Across the room, Ellen, the event director, looked up from her tablet, saw the cluster forming, and hesitated before moving. She didn't intervene yet, not until she knew who carried more weight. A guest in red, the viral recorder, paused mid-scroll, phone still in hand. She angled it slightly, not obvious, but ready. A few steps back, a scholarship student stood with a drink untouched, watching the exchange unfold, unsure where to look, but unable to look away. "This section is for investors," Victoria added, louder now. Aisha didn't raise her voice. "I am one," Bradford smiled. "Let's not make this awkward." The words landed hard. The room tightened. People pretended not to hear, suddenly fascinated by anything else. The security guard stopped beside Aisha. "Ma'am, is there a problem?" Before she could answer, Victoria spoke. "Yes." "She's confused." Across town, Anthony Carter glanced at his phone as an alert came through. He didn't respond yet, but he paid attention. Aisha looked from the table to the guard, then back at Victoria and Bradford. She took a slow breath and stayed exactly where she was. The music kept playing. The tension didn't fade. Whatever this was becoming, it wasn't going to stay small or quiet. The situation stopped pretending to be polite. Victoria Whitmore tapped the table with her fingernails, the sound sharp and deliberate. "We're not doing this," she said, loud enough to draw a wider circle of attention. "These seats are reserved. You need to move." Her eyes stayed fixed on Aisha Carter, measuring her, dismissing her, deciding her place. Aisha didn't raise her voice. "My name is on the placard," she said, pointing once. "You took my seat." Bradford Whitmore chuckled, stepping closer as if to close the space. "Let's be honest," he said. "You don't look like our investor." He glanced around, inviting agreement. A few people laughed, nervous, quick, and quiet. Most said nothing. The security guard arrived fully now, standing between Aisha and the table. "Ma'am," he said, tone controlled but firm, "I'm going to need you to step away so we can handle this." Aisha looked at him. "Handle what?" Victoria answered for him. "A disruption," she said. "We're here to support a cause, not argue over misunderstandings." "That's not a misunderstanding," Aisha replied. "That's my seat." Bradford's patience thinned. "You're making people uncomfortable," he said. "This is a private event." The word private hung in the air. Around them, guests looked anywhere but at Aisha. A few took out phones, not to help, just to watch. Ellen, standing a short distance away, noticed the growing circle and took a step forward, then stopped. She scanned faces, weighing influence. The security guard shifted his stance. "Ma'am, last time, please step aside." Victoria leaned in, lowering her voice just enough to feel personal. You should be grateful you made it past the door, she said. Don't push your luck. That did it. The moment crossed from exclusion to threat. Aisha stayed where she was. I'm not leaving, she said calmly. Bradford's smile disappeared. Then you're forcing our hand. The guard's hand moved closer to his radio. Ellen finally spoke. Let's pause, she said. We can verify. No, Victoria snapped. We're done verifying. I know who belongs at my table. The viral recorder raised her phone higher. She didn't say a word. The lens captured everything. Victoria's certainty, Bradford's approval, the guard's posture, Aisha's stillness. A nearby scholarship student froze, watching the scene unfold like a lesson no one warned them about. This wasn't abstract. This was happening, right here. Aisha turned slightly, addressing the room instead of the Whitmores. Is anyone here willing to confirm the seating? She asked. Silence answered her. Bradford nodded as if the quiet proved his point. There it is, he said. No one knows you. The security guard stepped closer. Ma'am, I'm escorting you out. Aisha met his eyes. On what grounds? Refusal to comply, he said. Victoria exhaled, satisfied. Finally! Ellen swallowed hard. She could intervene. She knew it. But the moment demanded certainty, and she hesitated. The system always punished hesitation last. Across town, Anthony Carter watched a clip load on his screen. Short, clear, unmistakable. He recognized the posture of power immediately. He didn't call. He didn't text. He forwarded it. Back at the gala, the guard placed a hand out, not touching Aisha, but close enough to be unmistakable. Please, he said, don't make this harder. Aisha took one step back, not in surrender strategic. The crowd shifted, murmurs growing. Someone whispered, Is this really happening? Victoria straightened in the chair, claiming the moment. See, she said, order restored. Bradford scanned the room, reassured by the lack of resistance. Let's move on, he said. This is embarrassing. The phone in red stayed steady. Ellen finally stepped between them. I need a moment, she said, voice tight. Just a moment. Victoria rolled her eyes. Why? Are we pretending now? The guard hesitated. Cameras were visible now. Not hidden, not subtle. A few guests pulled out their phones openly. Bradford noticed. Is this being recorded? He asked sharply. No one answered. The guard's confidence wavered. Ellen looked toward the stage, then back at Aisha. The room felt suspended, caught between routine and reckoning. Aisha stood quietly, hands at her sides. She didn't plead. She didn't explain. She waited. Victoria leaned closer to Bradford. This will blow over, she whispered. But the shift had already happened. Whispers spread. The video traveled. And somewhere beyond the gala's walls, decisions were being prepared. What started as a stolen seat was about to become something far bigger, and no one at that table was ready for what came next. The room reached a breaking point. The music cut out, not intentionally, but because no one was listening anymore. Every eye was locked on the scene unfolding near the front table. Aisha Carter stood where she had been told she didn't belong, while Victoria Whitmore sat in her stolen seat with the confidence of someone who believed power was permanent. The security guard waited for confirmation, his hand hovering near his radio. Ma'am, he said, voice tighter now, this is your final warning. Before Aisha could respond, Ellen stepped forward. Her tone shifted, less polite, more urgent. Hold on, she said. Just wait. Victoria turned sharply. Why? She snapped. This has gone on long enough. Ellen didn't answer her. She was staring at her tablet, color draining from her face. A notification had just come through. Then another. And another. Across town, Anthony Carter had stopped forwarding clips. He was on the phone now. Calm. Direct. Yes, he said. That's the one. Front table. Gala. Start the verification. Back in the room, whispers rippled like a wave. Phones were no longer hidden. The viral recorder wasn't alone anymore. Screens glowed everywhere, pointed at Victoria and Bradford. Bradford noticed first. Why are people recording us? He asked, irritation creeping into his voice. Victoria waved it off. Because they're bored, she said. Ignore them. Ellen swallowed. This isn't boredom, she said quietly. The security guard shifted, unsettled. He looked at Ellen. What's happening? She didn't answer him immediately. She looked at Aisha instead. Miss Carter, she said carefully, can you confirm your full name? Aisha met her gaze. Aisha Carter. Ellen's hands trembled as she turned the tablet around. On the screen was a profile, a photo, a title, donation records, sponsorship details. Bradford leaned forward. "What is that?" Ellen's voice broke the silence. "She's the lead investor." The words landed hard. Victoria laughed once. Sharp, disbelieving. "That's not funny. It's not a joke," Ellen said. Louder now. "Aisha Carter is the primary sponsor for tonight's event." The room went still. Bradford stood up abruptly, knocking his chair back. "No," he said. "That's impossible." Aisha didn't move. She didn't smile. She didn't explain. She didn't need to. Ellen continued, voice gaining strength. "Her firm funded this gala. Her name is on the contracts. Her approval cleared the guest list." Victoria's face drained of color. "You're lying," she whispered. "You have to be." The scholarship student watched, stunned, as the balance of the room flipped in real time. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was exposure. Bradford grabbed Ellen's tablet. He scrolled frantically. His hands shook. "This can't be right," he muttered. Anthony's voice came through Ellen's earpiece. "Calm. Final. It's verified." Victoria stood up slowly, her confidence cracking. "Why didn't you say anything?" she demanded, turning on Aisha. Aisha finally spoke. "You didn't ask." The line cut deeper than shouting ever could. The security guard stepped back, realization hitting him all at once. His posture changed. Authority drained from his stance. I didn't know," he said quietly. Ellen straightened. "You do now." Victoria looked around desperately. No one met her eyes. The same people who had stayed silent minutes earlier now avoided her completely. Bradford's voice dropped. "We need to talk," he said to Aisha. "Privately." Aisha shook her head. "You already did. Phones captured everything. The panic, the fear, the collapse." Victoria's hands trembled. "This will ruin us," she whispered. Aisha didn't respond. Ellen turned to security. "Please escort Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore out." The words were firm, unavoidable. Victoria's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Bradford stared at the table like it might disappear. As they were guided away, the room stayed silent, not out of politeness, but shock. Aisha watched them leave, calm, unmoved. The power in the room had shifted completely, and there was no undoing it now. The aftermath moved faster than the confrontation itself. Within minutes, Victoria Whitmore and Bradford Whitmore were escorted out. No speeches, no second chances. The same confidence that carried them into the room collapsed into silence as doors closed behind them. Phones followed. By morning, the footage captured by the viral recorder had spread far beyond the gala, replayed without filters or excuses. Inside, the atmosphere shifted. Ellen took control with a steadiness she hadn't shown earlier, issuing clear instructions, restoring order, not to protect power, but to correct it. The security guard, visibly shaken, stepped back into place, no longer directing authority at the wrong person. The system had exposed itself, and it couldn't pretend otherwise. Aisha Carter remained where she was, finally seated. Her seat returned without ceremony. There was no celebration in her posture, just resolve. Applause rose around her, hesitant at first, then stronger, as the room acknowledged what it had failed to protect minutes earlier. Aisha didn't stand. She didn't wave. She let the moment pass as proof, not performance. Across the city, Anthony Carter finalized decisions that would not be reversed. Partnerships were paused. Meetings were canceled. Reviews were launched. The consequences were immediate and documented. The gala had been one moment, but the pattern behind it was now under scrutiny. For the scholarship student, the night landed like a hard lesson delivered early. Opportunity wasn't just about access. It was about who was believed when they claimed it. Watching Aisha remain calm while the system corrected itself changed something lasting. This wasn't just justice for one woman. It was a warning to everyone watching. By the next day, statements replaced excuses. Apologies followed exposure, not the other way around. Victoria Whitmore and Bradford Whitmore issued denials that convinced no one. The record spoke for itself. Aisha left the venue without press or protection. She didn't need either. Validation had arrived, not through words, but through action, through consequences that couldn't be undone. Her future didn't change because she was powerful. It changed because the truth was undeniable. This wasn't about a seat. It was about who society believes deserves one. And the question that lingered long after the lights went out was simple and uncomfortable. If Aisha Carter hadn't held power, would the outcome have been any different? If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to Black Community Struggles for more stories about justice, dignity, and accountability. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most.